Hey guys, what's going on? I got a new idea for a Sunday kind of series. I want to start to do something that I might call like struggle Sundays something along those lines where I talk about some of my own struggles that I've been having, or maybe some that other people have been having in the chat and the comments. So what I'm thinking about talking about, something that I've most recently got over to a certain degree, and hopefully I can keep it up, is taking the L. We all know it's so hard in trading to take the loss, control your losers, and it just sucks. Like, we don't want to be wrong. We think that being right is more important than making money, and we don't necessarily consciously choose that. But in our trading actions and the things that we decide to do when we trade shows that. And that's all that matters, is your actions when it comes to trading. So for example, if you're losing, or I'll do it in the first person. So when I was losing more than I should have been, it's because I didn't have my hard stops in place. And you have to think of the triggers. So why don't you have a hard stop in place? You have to decipher exactly why your losers are too big if you struggle with this. Now that could be it's usually sizing or your stops. There's really not much else to it. Like, you could be over trading, you could be trying to take something long, you get stopped out. Take it long again, you get stopped out. Long, stopped out. That just means you're over trading. You might be revenge trading, but as long as you're respecting your $100 or $200 or $300 max loss per trade, then that's not as much of a problem as just taking your setups would be. But I'm just going to talk about individual losers on a trade. So you need to have hard stops. That's it. If you can't control your losers, you need to take it out of your hands and just put the hard stop in. The second you put in your trade, if you go in here and you say, I want 1,000, I'm going to buy 1,000 shares of Netflix. Let's just put in one at $3.25. And you have your order sitting there. If you have your order sitting there, you need to immediately put in stop. One share. And then whatever your stop is, $3.28. And the second that gets filled, you have to click like submit, or you have to attach an order to your actual initial order. If you can't do that, I don't know what to tell you. One of the biggest and hardest things in trading is to accept when you're wrong. That is how my biggest losers have happened, is because I didn't have a hard stop. Now, maybe I had too much size, and it blew past what I wanted to lose on the trade, and from then I was just like, F it, and that's a separate issue. But if I had just had a hard stop in immediately for the risk that I take per trade, and that changes depending on the person, then that wouldn't have happened. So, to keep this short, to keep this kind of helpful, if you are struggling with losing too much money on a single trade, you need to have hard stops. I don't give a crap if you continually get stopped out and you keep losing. You lost the set amount that you wanted to. That is good. Now, that will force you to get better entries, to define your setup, which is what I've been talking about, to figure out how to get a entry with less risk. Now, that could be buying into weakness, that could be shorting into strength. Whatever it is, just respecting that risk is what will get you there, because you'll get pissed off about getting stopped out constantly, and you'll just naturally learn and become more cautious with each trade. Now, if you're just losing too much money in a single day, then you need to have a hard max loss. And maybe your broker will do that. If you lose, if your risk per trade is $1,000 or $100, let's say $100, and you lose more than $300 or $400 in a day, it should cut you off. And if it doesn't then that'll be a little bit harder, because some people just, they say screw it, I don't care. But you need to have these rules in place, because then you know how to progress. You can track them. You can say, okay, I lost 3 times in a row, but I respected my risk and I respected my rules. And from there, you can work on improving your entries. And then once you get the entries, you can start nailing the exits. And once you start nailing the exits, you go to the next thing and the next thing. It has to be systematic. Hopefully that was helpful. I would love to hear some of the struggles that you guys have had trading. I have had plenty, and I'll try to get through a lot of them in the coming Sundays. But let's just see. I want to see maybe some feedback on what people are struggling with. Maybe I can talk about what you guys are struggling with, but in my own terms, and maybe that can help you. But let's just kick it off with number 1, controlling your losers. Hopefully you guys can do that this following week. I'm definitely going to be doing that this week. So we will see you next time.